Good afternoon, guys. We are in Frankfurt, Germany. This is my very first time in Germany, so I am super excited. We just got off the train, so we took the train from Paris. It's only about 4 hours, and I so much prefer taking trains than planes. And we just checked into our hotel, so we haven't seen really anything yet except the kind of business district of Frankfurt, because that's where we're staying. We're staying in a Scandic hotel, which it's only my second time ever staying in a Scandic. Normally, we actually prefer to do Airbnbs when we travel, but this just ended up being more convenient and cheaper and everything, so hopefully it'll be a good stay. So we're kind of in the businessy area of Frankfurt. We're very close to the train station, but we're kind of in between the train station and the city center, so the location should be pretty excellent. That was kind of the idea. And we do have, I mean, the view's not great, but we can see a little bit. Obviously, like, you know, business, but you can see a little bit of the river there. And a little bit over there. This is the prettier side of the city. We are staying in Frankfurt the entire time, but we're actually going to be spending more time outside of Frankfurt than in Frankfurt because we're here Thursday through Sunday, and Friday we're going to Heidelberg doing a day trip, and then Saturday we're doing a day trip to Würzburg. So I am very excited to see these three cities and get my first impressions of Germany. Alright, so the construction is not adding like the best vibe to this, but this is a very historical square called Romeberg. I'm gonna probably pronounce everything like it's French, but close enough. This square was actually reconstructed after World War II because it was mostly destroyed, which is that actually goes for a lot of the city of Frankfurt, which I guess is why we're seeing so much like industrial mixed with sort of historical, but a lot of it's probably reconstructed. And they are currently doing construction on a lot of these, which apparently started just a couple of months ago, so it's not the best environment in terms of sound. There's a lot of construction sounds, but it is really beautiful. Back here, I believe, is the city hall. There was actually a wedding going on. You probably saw in some of my footage. I tried not to be a creeper and like film somebody's wedding, but it was really pretty. But there are 3 flags back there, which you probably would have seen in some of the earlier footage a little bit better. There's the European flag, the EU flag, the German flag, and then the Hesse flag, because we're in the state of Hesse. Germany is a federal state like the US, so the state is actually quite important, so you find the state flags. That's the first time I've seen it, so now I'm on the lookout for that other places. Interesting because everything here in this area is very pretty, but because it is sort of artificially constructed, you really feel it. And the colors of the buildings make it feel very much like, we thought it felt like we're in a toy house, basically. But you can tell, like, even the windows, you can tell that they're actually double windows. Like, you have the fake artificial window to give the feel, the style that you want on the outside, and then you have the actual window that functions. So I've been sitting here just being a tourist and like taking pictures and vlogging with this building in my shots because I thought it just looked really cool. And then I read just now that it is actually quite famous. It's the WERTHEIM or WERTHEIM house, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. But apparently it survived the 1944 air raids that destroyed a lot of this area in Frankfurt. So it's actually really famous, not just pretty. This behind me is the house of Goethe, the extremely famous German author, and apparently he was also musical and he was a lawyer, that he practiced law. I had no idea. We just actually took the little tour through it. It is his childhood home, so it's where he was born and grew up. But there's a catch. It was completely destroyed in 1944 air raids. But all of the furniture and everything, I think all the paintings and everything were saved. They had been moved before, so all of that is original, and they managed to reconstruct the house supposedly exactly as it used to be. So the house itself, the structure, is completely reconstructed, but everything inside should be authentic. Pretty cool, actually, and it was really interesting to see, I guess, where he grew up, how he grew up. I knew nothing about his childhood. I knew nothing about his family or anything. Apparently they were quite wealthy, which I had no idea. He was definitely not one of those struggling artists like so many writers. So it was really fascinating. We just finished dinner. I found a place on Time Out that was called Altstadt, and supposedly it was very authentic German food and a German atmosphere. And of course, like going into this, I assumed it was going to be very tourist trappy, but actually it was super local, and a lot of the people around us were German. We managed to have two very authentic local dishes, or one was Swabian, so I think it's southwestern or southeastern Germany, but it was a very German dish. And then we had a dish that was eggs and potatoes and what is it? How do you say green sauce in German? Grüne Sauce, which is very famous from Frankfurt, I believe, at least in this area. So we had two vegetarian dishes that were very traditional, so I'm very happy. Our waitress spoke some English, but my husband was able to communicate in German as well. A lot of the people only spoke German, so it's definitely one of those places, you know, we always, every time we travel, we search for those places that are going to be authentic and preferably as little English as possible, because that's when you know you're really hitting an authentic treasure. So if you are going to Frankfurt and you want something authentically German, very much like a bar pub atmosphere, definitely highly recommended. And we had APFELWEIN? APFELWEIN. I'm working on my pronunciation. That is also a very local thing from this area. It's very good. very weird. It tasted, the first couple sips, my taste buds wanted me to think I was drinking cider, but it wasn't bubbly. Like, it was very weird, but it was very good. So yeah, it was a really good dinner and a really good day. It was only half a day, but I feel like we covered so much ground, and I feel like we definitely experienced a lot of Frankfurt. So tomorrow we're going to Heidelberg. The next day we're gonna be in Würzburg, and then Sunday there's a tram passing. I feel like we should take the tram even if we don't need to, just because we need to take the tram in Frankfurt. It's everywhere. Anyway, Sunday we are gonna be back spending a day in Frankfurt, so we will figure out some more fun things to do in the city. I've had a really good time. It's a really interesting mix of traditional with sort of industrial business. It's very different and it's not quite what I expected. I'm not sure I really knew what I expected, but I do really like it. We are heading back to the hotel now, so you'll probably notice that the pretty streets are gonna sort of disappear into businessy, and we're gonna crash and get up early for a train to Heidelberg. Thank you guys for watching, and I will talk to you tomorrow.